Yeah. So in last class, we discussed about database, a DBMS and a Rdbms and Rdbms futures and what are the Rdbms softwares. Okay, then. So if any company wants to maintain a database, they use a software called DBMS. They use a software DBMS, but there are different types of DBMS available. So one DBMS is Rdbms. There are different types of DBMS available. So what is the most popular one is Rdbms. So relational. So what are the examples for relational databases? SQL Server, Oracle, all these are examples for Rdbms. Okay, then. So one more is there. What is that is Rdbms. But it is not completely different. So what is Rdbms is? Rdbms is a combination of Rdbms and OOPS. What is OOPS means? Object oriented. Okay, object oriented programming. So that is called OOPS. So Rdbms is combination. That means Rdbms is equal to Rdbms plus OOPS. So to the existing Rdbms concept, they added OOPS concept. So what the Rdbms concept means? Simple, storing the data in tables, rows and columns. So every table must contain primary key. So this is the simple concept of Rdbms. So in Rdbms, security is more, redundancy is less. Okay, supports data sharing, supports transactions. So if any money related transactions are there, compulsory that uses Rdbms. Okay, so these are all features of Rdbms. So to the existing Rdbms features, they added OOPS features and released a new DBMS called Ordbms. So to the existing Rdbms, they added OOPS concept and released a new DBMS, Ordbms. What is the main concept of OOPS? OOPS is introduced because of two reasons. One is security, another one reusability. Okay, OOPS is introduced for two reasons. Security and reusability is the main concept of OOPS. But here, security is not required for us. Why? Because Rdbms provides more security. So we don't need security from OOPS. What is taken from OOPS is reusability is taken from OOPS. Okay, then. So what concept of OOPS is taken? Reusability. Then what is the difference is Rdbms doesn't support reusability, but Ordbms supports reusability. That's it. So this is the difference. That's all. Rdbms doesn't support reusability, but Ordbms supports reusability. Okay, then. So then, like suppose, just to explain, I'll take one example. Suppose in Rdbms, first I'm taking the Rdbms case. Suppose I want to store customers' data. You take one table, customer table. In customer table, you store the data, customer ID, name. I want to store customer address. To store address, then, so I take different fields, house number, street, city, state, like this, or pin code or zip code, like. ID, name, house number, seat, state, pin code. So, okay, I want to store customer address. To store the address, you need to take 5 fields. One field for house number, one field for street, city, state, pin code. Next, suppose I want another one, employee. I want to store employee's data, employee ID, employee name. I want to store employee address. So again, you have to take house number, seat, city, state, pin code. Okay, then. So here, in number of tables, address is repeated. When address is repeated, all the 5 fields are repeated. You need to repeat the 5 fields. You understood? When address is repeated, so we are repeating these 5 fields. So instead of repeating this same Rdbms, what we can do in Rdbms, we can create one structure called address. We can create a structure called address. In this address, I'll take house number, street, city, state, pin code. So this is also something similar to table, but we don't call it as table. We call it as UDT. We call it as UDT. So what is UDT means? User defined type. Something like similar to table. We create one structure. In this structure, we store house number, street, city, state, pin code. So next. So suppose I want to store customers' data, customer ID, customer name, customer address. So ID, name, address. So if you want to store address, you don't need to take these 5 fields. Just take only one field, address. Because address itself contains what? House number, street, city, state, pin code. Okay, then that's all. So that is the reason. Like we don't need to take 5 fields, just take one field. So in this field, we can store everything. Okay, then. So employee table. I want to store employee address. So take address, then inside this address, you can store. So that means if address is repeated, how many fields are repeated? Only one field is repeated. So this field contains 5, but externally, if you see this, how many fields repeated? Only one field. So what this is called? We can create one structure, and wherever you want, you can use this structure. So I want this structure in customer table. I want this structure in employee table. So wherever you want, you can use this structure. What this is called? Reusability. Okay, then. So understood, guys?
Yeah.
See, what are the Rdbms softwares? What softwares implemented the futures of Rdbms? SQL Server is implemented, Oracle is implemented, PostgreSQL is implemented. Like that, there are a number of all the softwares implemented the futures of Rdbms.
Or
Then,
maybe SQL Server, which version, which edition is actually Rdbms? Like maybe
uh,
2017, 29.
actually, it is been like introduced in very old versions, like SQL Server 2012. uh, okay,
Oh, okay.
2012. Then, so how to create means creating types. We can create types in SQL Server. So if you are able to create the types means it supports Rdbms features. Okay, then. So that is what I said, user-defined types. So this facility, with the help of this facility, we can say SQL Server supports Rdbms features. Now, if you can't create UDTs, so it doesn't support Rdbms. If you can create UDTs, it supports Rdbms. That's all. That.
So now we can say in SQL Server is a Ordbms, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Then, so like suppose now, this knowledge is enough before we start the actual course. So just you learn what is database, what is DBMS, what is Rdbms, and you just learn what is Ordbms. So this knowledge is enough before we start the actual course. So if anyone asks you what is SQL Server means, so SQL Server is SQL Server is basically a Rdbms product from Microsoft, and also supports the features of Rdbms. So it is basically Rdbms product and also support the features of Rdbms, and what for it is used to manage database. If any company wants to maintain the database, they use SQL Server. So use it to create and to manage database. Okay, then. So it is a Rdbms product from Microsoft and also support the features of Rdbms and use it to create and to manage the database. Then, so user uses what SQL Server to maintain the database. Then, so user can't directly work with databases. He can work with databases with the help of a software called SQL Server. Then, so, and in companies, SQL Server is used by both. SQL Server is used for database development and database administration. So it is used for development and it is used for administration. So that means it is used by both developers and administrators. So use it for development and use it for administration. So what is the difference? What is the difference between development and administration means? Okay, then. So suppose, see, like create the tables. See, we have to create the tables. Suppose then there is a new project. One project is started. Sales project is started. So that project contains some hundreds of tables. So first we have to create all the hundreds of tables inside the database. So who create the tables? So tables are created by developers. So that is creating tables. Not only tables, in SQL Server we use several objects, creating views, creating synonyms, creating sequences, creating indexes, creating procedures, creating functions, creating triggers, creating triggers. Next, another one, writing queries. So this is the day-to-day activities in development. So if someone is a SQL Server developer, then what are the day-to-day activities of a developer? That's this. So every day is involved in creating tables, creating views, synonyms, sequences, indexes, procedures, functions, triggers, writing queries. So these are the day-to-day activities of developer, day-to-day activities in development. Then SQL Server development means maximum this. Then next, what are the day-to-day activities of administrator? Suppose if you join as a developer, these are your activities. If you join as a SQL Server DBA, database admin, so what are your activities? So suppose, let's take for example, let's take suppose for example, a new project is started. A new project is started. A new project is started. Then, so for the new project, so suppose here a new project is started. Let's say sales project. For that project, they want to use SQL Server database. Okay. So for that project, they want to use SQL Server database. Then what DBA has to do? DBA will take one system, will take one high configuration system, high configuration system. In that system, he install SQL Server. He'll take one system. In that system, he install SQL Server. So after installing SQL Server, what is the system is called? The system is called server. Okay, what is the system is called? The system is called server. So server means nothing. Server means a system where SQL Server is installed. If SQL Server is installed in your laptop can be called as server. So here SQL Server is installed in my laptop. My laptop can be called as server. So server means where SQL Server is installed. Okay, next. So after installation of SQL Server, and inside the server, you create databases. You create database for the new project. Okay. You create the database for the new project. Let's say DB1. So database one. Like that, you create not one database, you create number of databases according to the requirements. So real-time projects may contain hundreds of databases. So who create all these hundreds of databases? DBA, database admin. So what is ready now? Server is ready. Inside the server, SQL Server is installed, plus database is also ready. So what admin? Admin must know installation of SQL Server. Okay. SQL Server admin must know installation of SQL Server. Even if developer don't know, no problem. But admin must know the installation of SQL Server. Okay, then next one. And inside the server, you must know creating what databases. How to create databases, creating databases. Next. So server is ready. Inside the server, database is ready. So suppose there are two developers assigned to work with this database. Developer 1, developer 2. There are two developers assigned to work with this database. Every day, these developers have to using their laptop. So developers using their laptop, they connect to the server, they work with the database. So every day, these developers using their laptop, they connect to the server, work with the database. Okay, then, but to connect to the server, what is required is, see, I want to connect to SQL Server. To connect to the SQL Server, what is required is login is required. Okay, then. So to connect to the server, what is required is login is required. So if developer wants to connect to the server, so what is required is login is required. You see this, I'm trying to connect to the SQL server. So what it is asking is login and password. So you have to submit the login and password to connect to the server. Okay, then. So who create the logins and password for developers? Admin. So what are the another activities? Creating logins. Creating logins for the developers. Okay, then next. So these developers are working with this database since 1 month. Since 1 month, they have been working with this database. But suppose today they connected to the server, but they found that database is gone, database is damaged. They connected to the server, they found that database is damaged. See, database is damaged. So since 1 month, whatever the tables they have created, suppose assume since 1 month they created 100 tables. All the 100 tables are there in database. So when database is gone, that 100 tables are also gone. When database is corrupted, damaged, so the whatever there in the database, that is also gone. But if database is damaged, you don't need to worry. Contact the DBA. Within 2 minutes, he'll recover the database. How it is possible? Because what DBA, every day, this database is copied to one file. What that file is called? That file is called backup file. Okay, then what that file is called? Backup file. So every day this database is copied to the backup file. So regularly they copy the database to the backup file. So what is the advantage of copying this database to the backup file? So if original database is damaged, we can recover the database from the backup file. So recovering the database from the backup file is called restore. Okay. If original database is corrupted, damaged, we can recover the database from the backup. So recovering database from the backup is called restore. So that DBA must know that how to take database backup and restore. Okay, database backup and restore. So creating logins, take the backup and restore. Next. Okay, then now. So then see here actually, suppose for example, so one second, just see here. So here once again, just see this. Suppose here there is one, for example, suppose for example, so this is the see, this is one server. Let's say this server is TCS server. Okay, TCS is a company. Next one. This is one bank. Okay, then. So TCS has developed a database. The TCS, they developed a database. The TCS has developed a database for some bank. So the TCS has developed a database for some bank. Now, where is the database now? The database is there in TCS server. So TCS is a software development company. So they developed a database for some bank. But at present, this database is there in the TCS server. Then what they have to do? They have to move this database to bank. They have to move this database to the bank server. So moving the database from one server to another server, that is called export and import. So moving the database from one server to another server, that is called export and import. Okay, then. So database what? Export and database import. Like moving the goods from one country to another country, that is called export and import. Similarly, moving the database from one server to another server, so that is called export and import. So who must know this export and import? Admin must know. Okay, then admin must know. So admin must know how to export and how to import. Even developer don't know, okay, but admin must know. Next one. Next. And so suppose, for example, like you go to ATMs, suppose, for example, you send a request, you give a request, money withdrawal, etc. Suppose the ATM system is taking half an hour time to give the money. So will you wait for half an hour? No. You cancel the request, you try after some time, or you go to the next ATM. So similarly, you are sending a request to SQL server. You are sending a request to SQL server. So what type of requests you send to SQL server? Maybe storing the data, updating the data, deleting the data, reading the data. Mainly four. You send a request to SQL server for updating the data. But SQL server is taking half an hour time to update the data. But users cannot wait for half an hour. Users send the request, they wanted the response in seconds or fraction of seconds. They can't wait for minutes. If a SQL server is taking more time to process the request, you need to do something to improve the performance. That is called performance tuning. So that is called performance tuning. Tuning means improving. Tuning means improving. Improving the performance. Improving the performance is called performance tuning. So SQL server performance is low. So we need to improve the performance. So improving the performance is called performance tuning. Okay, that. So that's all. What are these? These are all the day-to-day activities of what? Developer, and the day-to-day activities of what? Admin. So in development, these are the activities. In administration, these are the activities. So, but here you write some code, not complex code, simple codes. But here you don't need to write any code here. Without writing a single program, you can do all these activities. Okay, then. So is it clear then? Okay. Once again.
Do you help us to create any lab environment to practice?
Yeah, but when it's already there in your system,
No, we have to
you
download
have
and
to
install.
install.
Yeah,
Okay. I'll show that how to download and how to install. So what is your OS?
Windows.
Windows. Okay, good. Okay, then. Now, then. So here, what are the versions of SQL Server? Okay, these are the versions. What are the versions of SQL Server? Then. Okay, na? What are the versions of SQL Server? That. Okay, that. And versions are there from what? Versions are there from version 1, 4, 6, 7, but up to 7. Versioning is based on serial number, but starting from 2000 onwards, it is based on year-based versions. So it is released in 2000, released in 2005, 2008, 2012, 14, 16, 17, 19. So it is released in, so in which year? Okay, which year which version is released? So starting from 2000 onwards, the versioning is based on year-based versions. Okay, so what the latest version is? Latest one is SQL Server 2022. 2022. So this is also released in 2022. Then. Okay, but I'll show that how to download, how to install this one. So if you download, then SQL Server 2022 is downloaded. Then. Okay, then. So after installation, I'll show that after installation, what is installed in your system? Mainly the two. One is client, another one what? Server. So mainly these two are installed, client, server. So there are two systems. One is server, one is client. Okay, there. So after installing this, you install any version. After installing any version, so mainly the two are installed, server and client. Actually, what is the difference between one version to another version? So what is the difference between one version to another version? So why they release?
Yeah, some
So
new feature added.
yes. Okay, to the 2017, they added some features released 2019. They added some features released 2022. But the features not only related to development, not just related to development, the features related to both development and as well as admin. Okay, then now. But in maximum, in 2022 version, maximum the features are related to admin only. In 2017, so they introduced some features related to development, but 2022 maximum the features are related to admin. Okay, then now, so let's see server. First, we'll see one by one. We'll see server, we'll see client. Already you know what is server means. So this is called server. What is server? Server is a system where SQL Server is installed and database is created. So wherever SQL Server database is there, that system is called server. Understood? So wherever SQL Server database is there, that system is called server. Now, so this is called server. The system is called server. Now, so, but inside the server, there are two. Inside the server, there are two. One is database. One more is there. What is this is called? This is called instance. Inside the server, there are two. One is called database. Another one is called instance. So then, so database is, see, what is database is memory. What is instance is memory. So database is a memory, instance is a memory. Where database is created. So database is created in hard disk. Where instance is created in RAM. So that means database is permanent storage, instance is temporary storage. Okay. So means what is the meaning? Suppose I insert some data. This is some data. When I insert the data, it will not directly go to the database. When you store some data, it will not directly go to database. Where it is stored? Initially, it is inserted into instance. So which is temporary storage. Then you save it. When you save it, then it is copied to database. Okay. You update where it is updated, instance. You save it, then it is copied to database. You delete, it is deleted from instance. So you save it, then it is deleted from database. That means your operations are performed on instance. After saving, they are reflected to database. Okay, then understood? Then so like see, I'm using paint application. I had drawn one diagram. So where this diagram is saved at present. At present, this diagram is saved in RAM. So this diagram is saved in RAM. Is it uh, tomorrow I want to work with this, I want to use this diagram for explanation. Then, so what you need to do is you need to save it. So go to the file, select save, enter the file name. So then save it. Okay, then. So enter the file name. Okay, na? So save it. So when you save, then it is saved. Understood na? Then. So save it, save. Now it is saved. Tomorrow I can open this diagram. I can use this diagram for my explanation. Yes or no? So like same thing in database also same. When you store the data, it will not directly go to database. Initially it is stored in instance. After saving, it is copied to database. Okay, then. Okay, na? Then. So just a second, 1 second. Okay, then. So now, so now, like what we can say is server is a system. Server is a system where SQL server is installed and running. Okay, SQL server is installed and running. So next. So inside the server, SQL server manages mainly two. So database, another one, instance. So what is database? Database is created in hard disk. Okay, and acts as permanent storage. Next, instance is created in what? Instance is created in RAM and acts as temporary storage. Okay, that. So initially, data stored in instance, and after saving, after saving, so data is copied to instance. Sorry. Data is copied to database. initially stored in instance. After saving, it is copied to the database. Okay, that's all. So this is about server, but we don't directly work with servers. Okay, now we don't directly work with servers. You don't sit in front of the server and work with the database. That is not possible. That is not practical because the servers are located somewhere. So we don't know where servers are located. Okay, that. So we don't directly work with the servers. Okay, that. So, like here, you see, suppose then how you work with the servers. So how developers will work with the database. Okay, so developer uses one system. Developers, they use another system. By using the system, they connect to the server. They work with the database. They use another system. By using the system, they connect to the server, submit the request, okay, submit the request and receive the response. Request and receive the response. So what is this system is called? This system is called client system. Okay, that. Suppose here from your laptop, how you connect to the Gmail server. See, Gmail server is there somewhere, but to receive the emails, you are connecting to the Gmail server. So how you are connecting to Gmail server? You open browser. In browser, you type gmail.com, then connect to the Gmail server. Yes or no? So what is your laptop is called? Your laptop is called client. Okay. So from ATMs, you connect to the bank server and do the transaction. What is ATM is called? ATM is called client. So we don't directly work with servers. We take the help of another system called client system. By using that client system, you connect to the server. So to connect to the Gmail server, what should be installed in your laptop? To connect to the Gmail server, what should be installed in your laptop? To connect to the Gmail server,
Email
what
app.
should be installed in your laptop? Browser.
Yeah,
Browser should be installed. Yeah. Okay. Then similarly, to connect to the SQL server, what should be installed in the client computer? A tool should be installed. What the tool is? SSMS. A tool should be installed in client computer, that is SSMS. What is the SSMS stands for? SQL Server Management Studio. Okay, that. So a tool should be installed SSMS. By using this SSMS, you connect to the SQL server, work with the database. Okay, that. So that means to practice SQL server in your laptop, you need to install two softwares. So one is you need to install two. One is SQL server you need to install plus SSMS you need to install. So you need to install two, SQL server and SSMS. Okay, then. So after installing these two, then you can work with server, you can work with database. So here, see, my laptop is acting as server and client. In my laptop, SQL server is installed in my laptop. SSMS is also installed in the same laptop. Because see, I don't need two systems for giving the training. Just one system is enough. So that is why what I did, I installed both in one system. SQL server is installed and SSMS is installed in the same system. But if we go to companies, in companies, what they do, in companies, so there will be one server, there will be one system. The system is called server. The system is called server. Inside the server, what they install, SQL server and create what database. So this is server. Next, so this is, let's say, developer one. So suppose developer 2, next one developer 3, like this. So all these developers, they're connecting to the server by using their laptop. Every day, these developers will connect to the server by using their laptop. But what is installed in developer laptop is SSMS is installed. So install SSMS in developer laptop. So SSMS. So here client and server is separate system. One system is acting as server, another system is acting as client. But in my system, so that both are one. For you also do the same thing. Install SQL Server, install SSMS in one system only. Okay, then. Okay, now then. Okay. So then, so I liked about just once again, what is client is that client. Client. So client is also a system from where users can connects to server, submit request to server, and third, receive response from server. Okay, that connects to server, submit the request, receive the response from server. What are the client tool? What are the client tool? So the client tool is SSMS. So SQL Server Management Studio. That. That. Okay. That. So if you want to practice, you have to install two, server and client. That. So like SQL Server is what? So SQL Server is a server tool. SSMS is a client tool. SQL Server is a server tool. SSMS is a client tool. SQL Server is installed in server computer. SSMS is installed in client computer. Okay, that's all. Now it is like this. User uses SSMS tool, connects to SQL Server, and work with the database. So you have to be clear with each and every one. What is database is storage, storing of data. What is SQL Server? A software to manage the database. What is SSMS? It is a tool to connect to the SQL Server. So user uses SSMS tool to connect to the SQL Server, work with the database. Okay, now. So after you connect to the server, so you want to work with the database. But to work with the database, you need to communicate with SQL Server. Yes or no? You need to communicate with SQL Server. You need to, suppose, otherwise how SQL Server knows what you want to do. So you want to update. You have to tell SQL Server, I want to update the data. So if you want to delete, you have to tell SQL Server, you want to delete the data. So if you want to do any operations on database, you need to talk to the SQL Server. That is, you need to communicate with SQL Server. For communication, we use a language. What that language we use? SQL. For communication, we use a language. That language is SQL. Okay, so with the help of this language, so we can talk to this SQL Server. What the next comes? Next comes what? Language. Okay, then. So then. So what is SQL stands for? SQL stands for Structured Query Language. So this is the language used to communicate with SQL Server. SQL Server understands only one language, that is SQL language. So if you want to talk to SQL Server, you must use SQL language. Okay, then. Okay, no. So, and what is this SQL? What is this SQL? Plus, how to download, how to install this tool. Okay, na? So, shall we see that in the next class?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.